Listening for life in society is based upon how we treat each other. If we treat each other with love and respect, we have a society that works. And if we treat each other with hate and confusion and disrespect, we end up with a nation that dissolves into chaos. That allows for religion and its various components to rule over us. And the most common religion today is university is God. So we can look at ourselves and understand that the religion of university is where our nation is going, or has come from over the last 50 years in particular. So in this America, in this USA, we look at them and say, are they the problem? And we must understand that only the evidence can decide that. And you can blanket statement anything, but that doesn't mean it's true. You have to identify where the cause and where the consequences are coming from within the or underneath the covers that hide everything under the same description. Christianity can be blanketed, covered all kinds of things, and so can every other form of religion, ISIS and so on. They all end up with, some is good and some is bad and some is terrible. And we can't discover any of that unless we investigate for real what is true. So world law means that the difference between our enforcement of law is based upon hiring someone to enforce the law. But of course they don't really know what the law is so much unless they create rules, and rules create rulers. So what we have to do for world law is we, the world, have to decide what the law is. In our own language, in our own concept, as simple as possible so as not to be misunderstood. And then to enforce that law, we have to create a Bill of Rights to identify how the enforcement of that law will be. There are the League of Nations and the World or United Nations and so on are all attempts to create a world that runs by law. But of course rulers or leaders control all of those, and leaders want power. And the consequence of power is that they want rules to govern people, and they don't want themselves to be considered to be the problem, so they avoid that. And hire those who are enforced by rules so that they don't actually have to obey. But our world is based upon our need to identify what is true for us today. What is the Bill of Rights that we need as a world? What is that? And so, the first law, of course, is that every nation shall stay within its own boundaries. There are no reasons, there are no excuses to go beyond your boundary as a nation and attack someone else. If they attack you, well, that's a whole different issue, but there has to be a Bill of Rights that says, you will not go beyond this point. Because limits and boundaries create an environment, and an environment allows you to be at home where you are at. And if you are home, you should not be invaded. And of course that can be expanded to or reduced to the idea that home invasion has to be protected as well. I'm just defending my home. But as with all things, we need a Bill of Rights for people and policing of all kinds. And one of those Bill of Rights, of course, in this USA would be that guns are fine. Well, they may or may not be fine, but guns are allowed. However, lethal bullets are not. And that means that you can defend yourself just as well with a non-lethal bullet, something that will not guarantee this person will suffer immense damage or death. and reduce it to the point where this is going to be bad, but it's better than dying. So that allows for the Second Amendment to be protected, and that allows for people to make mistakes, hopefully, and that allows for things that we can use for protection rather than things we cannot use for protection, because being wrong is a very deadly thing. So we need a Bill of Rights. We need to identify what is true, and we need to confront those who do not accept the idea that they are restricted. And of course, medicine is involved in that. It's said that lymphedema is a constant cause of crisis in human life, and lymphedema is more commonly caused by surgery of some kind rather than any other. And if you have surgery and they remove several lymph nodes from you, your odds of lymphedema are 4 to 5 times greater than someone else's. And of course, if you add radiation into that, it goes up. And of course, you ask, why did they do it? And the answer to that is usually they do it for the money, because they get $3,000 to $6,000 more or less on average for each lymph node they biopsy, and so they're making money. So if they take one that has a possibility of having a problem, that might be okay. But if they take 3 or 4 or whatever it is that they take and do a biopsy on all of them, even though they are perfectly fine, obviously fine, there is no reason to do that. One is more than enough. Then you know that they're making money. They're making money. That's what they're doing. And we need to have a Bill of Rights for patients that say, there are things that you can do and there are things that you cannot do, and we need to completely remove the healthcare system in this USA today. We need to completely remove it and redo it in obviously different ways. And that would be that the first part of that is that private hospitals are dead. The public hospital was doing fine. It was everything that society needed until, of course, insurance came along, and insurance made it possible for the average person to hire the most expensive doctor that they could find in the most expensive places, because it didn't matter, insurance was going to pay it. And that caused the system itself to collapse. In other words, we need to take control over everything. We need to understand what it is that causes our grief and problems. We need to rectify those problems, but you can't do that without knowledge, because just believing whatever it is you want to believe is not enough. You have to understand the consequences of what the evidence is. You have to understand the truth of what the evidence is, not what you believe, not what you want to believe, not what you don't want to believe. You're not God, and your doctor is not God, and the world is not, leaders is not God. You have to understand what the evidence really is. And of course, people don't want to do that. They want what they want, and they don't want what they don't want. And they don't want anything involved with work or reality or life, or, discussing the cost of being wrong or any of it, because greed rules their lives. And greed, of course, is give me more, and don't make me fear, and I will believe anything I have to, so long as I be safe. But of course, medicine is not so much safe. And we have, 70 or 80,000 different new chemicals that cause our problems, and mutilation of life and genetics and all kinds of cancers and so on, because they're going to sell something. That's what the whole thing of university is. They have to sell something in order to make money. And if they are selling something, they're selling music. You can't be trusting who is wanting you, for money. You just can't do it, because the greed will control that. So we have to rearrange our world. We have to rearrange our society so that we are in charge of what is or is not true. We have to identify the evidence of what is or is not true. We have to actually do the work. No, you cannot just throw away your nation to let somebody else do it because they say they're the expert or some damn thing like that. You have to actually do the work and understand the consequences of what it means to be wrong. You have to understand the consequences of letting them make decisions that you should be making. And they'll tell you that, you can't possibly make all these decisions. We just have to do it. Because they want to. Because that gives them the power over your life and makes you the slave. So we need to remove that idea. And we need to understand exactly what it is that we're choosing by removing their claim of words and things that hide the fact that they don't know any more than we do, or know damn little more than we do. And we have to become our own best effort to have a society, to have a nation, to have health care and so on that is viable for us. And we have to do that. And that's true of world law. We can't just let other people decide for us. We have to make world law. We the people decided this. And when we the people decided that, and when we the people make a one-page, 50-word, like an amendment or a 10th commandment or whatever it is, decision, that we then understand, that we then can defend for ourselves, that we know we understand this, then we can, fight for our world, and we can fight for our law, and we can change our society, and we can do everything that we need to do to enforce what is our law. Our law is extremely important, because when you let somebody else rule over your life, they get to play God with you. We letting people genetically alter nature. And they have not a clue in the world. Not a damn clue. Because they don't know everything they need to know. And they say they can do that. We're going to do that. We're going to learn everything we need to know. But like the new Monkey Man movie that's coming out, they think they're preparing you for their intent to mix genetic nature together and create something else. They figure they can just throw it here and throw it there and let something else make itself. And what they're doing is crucifying life. They are in fact the world's worst terrorists beyond anything humanity has ever seen in the history of time. They are crucifying all of life. And you are aiding them. You are abetting them. You are part of their protocol of how to do this. They are governing you with media, mass hypnosis of everything they want you to believe. They want you to believe they can be God. They want you to believe that they're not mutilating life, that they're going to form something else with evolution. And they're, completely insane. They are completely insane. And they're leading you. Whereas the Bill of Rights for life and for law and for world and for peace and for everything that we hold value, everything about your life is built by nature. Every smile, every voice, every touch, every sight, everything. How your hand works, the fact that you have hands in the right place, the fact that you have hands and feet and legs and things that are balanced, the fact that you can do anything, standing up included, is all dependent upon genetic nature. It's all dependent upon genetic nature. And you are letting the fools and liars and terrorists and the traitors of all of this entire creation play God with everything. Everything. There is nothing that will not be extinct because of the university claim they can be God. Where is your mind? Where is your brain? Where is anything but cult worship? It is cult worship. Never question your leader. That's the point of being a cult. Never question your leader. Wake up. Or die.